Welcome to Nighttime Stories. Each night we come together to listen to tales of wonder, courage, and dreams. Before we begin, make sure to follow our channel and press the bell icon to get notifications when we release new stories each weekday. And now let's delve into tonight's story, The Light Beyond the Shadows. Close your eyes and imagine a small town nestled between rolling hills, where the sun sets in hues of orange and purple, casting long shadows over quiet streets. The air is cool, carrying the scent of pine and distant rain. In this town lives a young soul named Amara, whose heart is as bright as the stars above, but whose days are often clouded by the cruelty of others. Amara is a 16-year-old girl with warm brown eyes, a reflection of her African heritage, her mother's side. Growing up, she had heard stories of her motherland, of proud warriors and wise healers, tales that filled her with a sense of strength and identity. Yet here, in this predominantly homogeneous town, where houses were as alike as the leaves of an autumn tree, and where most folks looked like one another, she was different. Her skin, the color of rich mahogany, her curly hair, a thick braid down her back, these were not things people in this town were used to seeing. So each day when Amara walked to school, she felt the weight of stares. Classmates would whisper slurs behind her back, some calling her too exotic for their little town. Others mocked the tight curls of her hair or the darkness of her skin. Her locker was defaced with crude words, and once with lipstick smeared across the door. Her artwork, her escape, was torn apart by a group of bullies led by a boy named Kyle, who thrived on her pain. Inside the classroom, things weren't much better. While the other kids were encouraged to dream big, Amara learned to dim her light. Teachers turned a blind eye to the snickers and shoves, and even her best subject, art class, became a torment. She remembered one instance vividly. She had worked for weeks on a painting of her grandmother, a portrait filled with the warmth of their shared laughter and secrets. When it was her turn to present, Kyle snickered. "Ooh, what do we have here? A picture of your mom or maybe your maid?" he jeered. The teacher, Miss Clayton, made no move to stop him. "It's out of place," Kyle continued. "Just like you." Miss Clayton nodded in agreement. "Indeed, Amara, perhaps something less out of place for next time." Amara felt tears prickling her eyes, but she blinked them away, afraid to show weakness. No one saw the pain in her work, the story behind the portrait, and that hurt more than the slashed canvas that lay abandoned in a corner, a casualty of Kyle's vicious kicks. At home, her father, Coffee, a towering man with gentle hands and tired eyes, tried to be her rock. He told her of his hopes for her future, of how she could chase the brightest stars. But he was rarely there to back up his words. Working double shifts as a mechanic to make ends meet, Coffee was often too exhausted to notice the bruises on her arms or the haunted look in her eyes. Most nights it was just Amara and her thoughts in that small house. She felt like a shadow, unseen and unheard. Sometimes she wished she could just vanish, like a bad dream. Then came the final blow. One rainy evening, Amara sat by her window watching the gray skies weep. The bully's words echoed in her mind. "Go back to where you came from. You don't belong here." The landlord's threats loomed over her like a storm cloud. "Pay your rent or get out, you and your half-breed daughter." She felt trapped, invisible, like a solitary raindrop on a window pane. That night, unable to sleep, she got up and went to the bathroom. Staring at her reflection, she saw not a girl, but a problem, an unwanted guest in this town. In a world that found her too much to handle, she wasn't worthy of anything. With shaking hands, she splashed water on her face and leaned over the sink. Maybe she was right. Maybe she didn't belong. Maybe she should vanish, disappear, become nothing. She thought about the times she wished her pain would end, the times she'd wished she could just disappear. If she couldn't be happy, no one else should be either. Reaching for the medicine cabinet, she grabbed the bottle of pills inside. Just a few, she thought. Won't hurt. Then morning would come, and maybe then she would finally belong to somewhere. But as she sat in the darkness, a glint of light caught her eye. It was a small box, the one her grandmother had given her. Inside lay an old sketchbook, its pages filled with her grandmother's elegant script and sketches. Amara opened it, the musty smell of old paper filling her nostrils, and on the first page she found a note. "Your colors are your strength, Amara. Never let anyone dim them." The words burned in Amara's chest, chasing away the darkness. Colors, her heritage, her story, she wasn't a problem to be solved. She was a masterpiece to be celebrated. The next morning, Amara woke up with the sunrise in her heart. She wasn't going to let her light be dimmed. She wasn't a shadow anymore. She was Amara, and she had colors to paint the world with. So she did. When Kyle and his goons approached, sneering and ready to mock, she just smiled. "What are you gawking at?" Kyle spat. "Come on, you ugly freak, say something." But Amara just kept smiling. "I'm waiting for my masterpiece to dry," she said, nodding towards the wall where she had spent nights transforming ugliness into art. The townspeople gathered that evening, their faces a mix of curiosity and disdain. But when they saw Amara's mural, a gasp rippled through the crowd. On the wall, she had painted a story. There were the children she knew, their laughter echoing in her ears. There were the stern shopkeepers and gossiping old folks, and even the silhouette of Kyle, all rendered in hues that captured their very essence. But it wasn't just their likenesses she had painted. She had painted hope, unity, the beauty in their differences. Their frowns slowly faded, replaced by awe and understanding. Even Kyle stood speechless, his bravado crumbling like dry leaves. For the first time, Amara felt seen, not as a stain in their perfect town, but as a thread in its colorful tapestry. Someone approached her, wiping tears from her eyes. "Amara," the woman whispered, "your art, it's so powerful. We're so sorry." It was Mrs. Hawthorne, the sweetest lady in town, followed by other townspeople, their words tumbling over each other in apology and admiration. That night, Amara slept soundly for the first time in ages. The next morning, her father, Coffee, came home to find Amara humming as she packed her art supplies. "You're up early," he said, surprised. "I want to paint the sunrise," she replied. "It's beautiful." Later, at school, Elena, a girl from class who always seemed lost in her books, approached Amara. "I wanted to say I'm sorry," Elena began, her voice trembling. "Sorry for what?" Amara asked, confused. "For being afraid to speak up before," Elena said, her eyes shining. "For not standing up for you, for staying silent." She took a deep breath. I have a lot of stories. I've never had anyone to listen." Amara smiled, her heart swelling. Maybe they could listen to each other's stories, fill each other's colors, and together they would paint a world where shadows had no hold. As Amara lies in bed that night, the stars outside her window seem brighter. The shadows of cruelty still linger, but they no longer define her. She dreams of new paintings, of a world where every color shines. And as you drift off, imagine those stars above you, each one a reminder that even in the darkest nights, your light can never be taken away. And now we come to the end of our story. Breathe deeply and let your own strength carry you into dreams, where you are always enough. Until next time, may your days be filled with kindness and your nights with peaceful dreams.